Hey guys, we're back with another video, and today's a Monday, but whenever this video goes out, might be tonight, might be tomorrow, but I'm recording this on a Monday here, and I don't know, I just have this weird thing when it comes to Mondays. Everyone usually dislikes Monday because, you know, the weekend's ending, you know, we got to go back into a routine, but I don't know, like, the thing I like about Mondays, like, if you're on the road a lot, for some strange reason, just on Monday only, in my area, like, the traffic is pretty calm. Everyone's like pretty chill, compared to like Tuesday to Friday, basically. So let's talk about the new Acura RSX. Now, a whole lot of people would pretty much be like, yeah, it's SUV, kind of boring, who cares, move on, you know, like, what's the big deal? Well, before I even start about talking about the Acura RSX, I do want to say that the previous generation, the Acura Integra, the DC2, was actually my childhood dream car, specifically the Type R version. And I don't know, I just idolized that car. It was just such an icon. And for me, it was just because, you know, it was cheap, it was accessible. The aftermarket support was excellent for that car. You wouldn't break the bank. If you bought a clean example, you wouldn't break the bank. But if you bought sort of a clapped out, it could be a mani pit. But overall, it's not an expensive car to run, maintain, and modify. That's sort of the beauty about it. Totally understand where everyone is coming from. Like, the DC2 is what pretty much cemented the Integra, basically its whole identity. So I pretty much understand where everyone is coming from, but a lot of people tend to forget, and I've probably stated this in plenty of other videos too, and now this one, a lot of people forget when the Integra debuted, the first generation, it pretty much was a 5-door hatchback, if I believe. Correct me down in the comments, but I do remember seeing the rear opening like a hatch. And yeah, that's pretty much what the Integra was. So when they released the new Integra, the DE5, everyone was like going crazy. And I'm just like, why is everyone going crazy? That's what the Integra originally was. In fact, it was probably the only time I could say the coupe outsold the sedan. Well, at least in Canada. We also had a 4-door Integra, which came a little bit later. Unfortunately, sales weren't that great. And plus, there was like the Civic, so you could get your Civic in a sedan. And at the time, Acura just released the 1.6 EL, which was pretty much a fancy Civic. But it was a good car. It was good value at the time. The weird part for me initially was having the two nameplates at the same time in the same lineup, because, oh, there's another 8th gen Type R clone. Yeah, surprisingly, not many people do that right. They kind of go half-ass, but this, we kind of did it the right way. Kudos to that dude. But as I was saying, it's just weird having RSX and Integra out at the same time, because that pretty much was the market, I guess, the market difference between North America and the rest of the world. So the rest of the world, Acura didn't exist, so obviously it was just called the Honda Integra. Over here, it was called the Acura RSX, and boy, that car was like, I never owned one. I was never the biggest fan of them, but I do respect them. I've driven them, and, you know, it's more of like a sportier version of this car, pretty much. This, not saying this car isn't, but this car is more suited for like street duty and stuff, like how I set it up. But I guess in general, because this is a 4-door, it is a Civic, but you still get the K20, the 6-speed manual transmission, and a limited slip differential. Now, also, someone in the comments could tell me, I know the early Integras, sorry, not the early Integras, the RSXs, sorry, did not have LSDs, but after the facelift, they did. So you guys can correct me down in the comments if that's true or not. But going back to the RSX, the new SUV, let's look at it. I'll be honest, it's not a bad looking SUV. And I'm not into SUVs myself. Like, I hate them. I probably would never buy one. I have pretty much no purpose for one. I don't have a family. I got no kids, so 4-door is actually way more than enough than I need, but 4-door is good. You know, you can throw some people back there. This is bothering me because a bird shot on my car and I just quickly wiped it because it kind of looked gross. And that was like kind of during the evening time when I didn't see it. Kind of rambling on about the RSX, but the RSX was pretty iconic and it's pretty hard to beat. So that nameplate itself has, it has a whole lot to live up to. That's what a lot of people don't realize. It's a whole lot that name has to live up to. Now, what I think they did, this is actually pretty common and I've seen this happen. A good example of this is the Skyline GTR. So you guys know the famous 3 generations are 32, 33, and 34, which makes up the Skyline GTR. But we also know that the Skyline, not the GTR, is also just a regular commuter car. I would say it's about a mid-sized sedan that's rear-wheel drive. It's nothing to write home about. That's trippy. I thought we had to change things, but I guess not. What I was talking about earlier on, the nameplate itself, there's a hefty weight that name carries. So releasing it as an SUV, I can definitely understand people's disappointment because, it's like, what the hell? You have this legend and it's kind of turned into an SUV. At least with the Mustang Mach-E, they still kept the Mustang. Like, you still had the actual real Mustang, the 2-door V8 that everyone knows and loves. I think I'm gonna go over in this lane because this lane is really bad. Looks wise, yellow's not a bad color. I would say for me, the spot that I really like on the RSX, the new one at least for me, is sort of the back. It looks really nice, really refreshing. And I think Acura kind of needs to step it up a little bit. I'm not going to talk about, the discontinuation of the TLX sedan, but I don't know. I just feel like Honda just doesn't care about Acura anymore. They're not putting as much effort. I think their last effort was the Integra. It wasn't well received, but it was more of we had to warm up to it. We had to grow, we had to grow up to it a little bit. And it's actually not a bad car. I've driven them. I've driven the regular version, the automatic. I haven't driven the A-Spec with the 6-speed. That's the only version that I kind of want to try out that I'm really curious about. But I think it's fine. I think it deserves to be called an Integra. I know a lot of people will debate me on that, but I think it deserves. But as for the other vehicles, it just seems like Honda is not, it's weird. Honda, when it comes to their regular cars, they're good. But Acura seems like it's trailing behind. In this automotive climate, pretty much everyone wants SUVs, and I don't blame them. I don't blame them for making SUVs. At the end of the day, they're a business and they kind of have to make their money. So, it kind of sucks when you have these nameplates. But, some people might be, let's say they're not interested in cars, but let's say they drove an RSX before. They're like, yeah, I drove an RSX through college. It was a really good car. It was a small car, but it was a good car. But, I liked it. I enjoyed it. And they're bringing it back. I might as well purchase it. It's an SUV now. I got family and a kid. So that's pretty much who that car is going to cater towards. I think it's probably going to cater towards people who also appreciate driving too. I just hope they don't, kill the driving dynamics of the car. That's the audience that car caters to. I'm not that bent out of shape about it like the internet always is. It's pretty much oh, here we go. We're releasing a car that's pretty much a boring SUV. The same argument could be applied to the Skyline. When the Skyline and GTR, they're two separate cars. The Skyline being a 4-door sedan, a coupe, and an SUV, which here in North America, that was Infiniti FX. So take your pick. It happened with them, but the GTR was a whole separate car. That was a different thing. And I just think it's kind of hard to say. Some people will say now that the Prelude was released, the Prelude should have been an RSX. It just would have made sense. But, we can't really, question that because it's already how it is, the automotive climate. And a two-door coupe is not really selling right now. No one's looking for coupes, even though in the luxury segment there are coupes, you know, available from other manufacturers, but it's not exactly, you know, a volume seller. These people are really hauling ass up this hill. But yeah, so my thoughts on the RSX, I'm not disappointed because there's also the Integra, but I'm just more so disappointed in Acura. It just doesn't seem like they're putting as much effort as they once were. Like, if we were to compare it to the competition, it was really good. Like, we're going to go back to, you know, I don't want to go too far back into Honda's golden era, but I'm going to be talking about the modern Acuras. They're not bad cars. Like, I'm not dissing them at all. Like, they're fantastic vehicles. I would actually own one. Let's say if I were to daily drive one and I wanted a vehicle kind of like the Civic SI, but just a little bit more practical, despite it being automatic transmission. It is practical. Did someone crash into this barrier? Holy shit. Someone. Why am I not surprised? Got a new phone mount, which is so much better. I don't have to like constantly do this all the time, which is like super annoying. But going back to what I was saying, they make good cars, like, you know, the TLX Type S, the MDX Type S, you know, and the whole Type S thing. I thought that was really cool. You know, that's what Acura, you know, they kind of need that but compared to the competition and the prices, it just doesn't seem to add up. A lot of people were just, you know, oh, I'd just rather buy the BMW. I'd rather buy the Lexus because it's just way too expensive for what it is. This is the part where there was a lot of traffic. I don't want to stick around, especially during rush hour. I can tell y'all, I would have been stuck there for 2 traffic lights, not today. I might make this one, I might not, but it probably might be the same. We'll see. But yeah, it's pretty cool, but I think they just need something fresh. They need like a fresh new idea. I would, you know, a lot of people will say, you know, oh, they need to release a hybrid version. The thing is with Honda hybrids, they never was really popular. Like, compared to Toyota, they just weren't as popular. This is going to confuse people because they're not supposed to be in that lane. That's a turning lane. Yeah, see? You gotta love Toronto. Let's see if they're gonna let me go. One little thing could throw people off so hard. Crazy. I guess I gotta muscle my way in. For me, I think, you know, they really need to appeal. Thought this guy was gonna go through the fucking light. Jesus Christ. Oh boy, Jesus frick. But they just need something that kind of caters to that crowd, because if you're doing luxury, that's how you kind of have to do it. You're gonna have to have like the regular sort of like a slightly sporty one with just like an appearance package, and then you gotta have like your performance one, which is what they were kind of trying to do. But at the price point, that's what many people's complaints was. The prices just didn't equate to what they were getting. They would rather hop into something, you know, like a Mercedes-Benz or a BMW, Lexus. So we'll see what happens in time, but overall, you know, I don't think it's a bad looking SUV, surprisingly. And you know, a lot of people like to criticize when new cars come out, basically, oh, it's so ugly, and then a couple years later, you know, we all kind of learn to live with it, deal with it, and maybe, you know, we change our mind. It's not bad after all. That's usually what happens. But we'll see how it happens. Again, I don't know what powertrain they're going to use. We shall see as time goes on. But that's pretty much my thoughts on the new RSX. What are your guys' thoughts on the new RSX? Are you going to side with those people? Oh, it's an SUV, it sucks. Or you like it, you might buy it. You think it's cool for the family? Write it down in the comments. I'll see you guys in the next one.